Hi guys, Bolt here once again with more Steel Division Normandy 44 tips and tricks, or in other words, another tutorial video. It's been a long time since I did part 1, and the reason for the delay is mostly being lazy and vacation, so I'll blame vacation. But anyways, this one is going to be jam-packed with lots of good tips and tricks as well. We're going to be focusing on the return fire option in combination with artillery, so that's going to be really interesting. I think most of you guys will find it useful to use in your games. We're going to be talking about the amount of defensive lines you should have on the battlefield, how to follow up with heavy artillery strikes, how to compose your infantry on the front line, when to know when to fall back, and how to counter a fallback. So if you're falling back, how to basically recover from that and be able to do a good counter offensive. So yeah, let's quickly jump into it. I want to start this off by falling back to a very important thing I talked about in part 1 of this tutorial series, which is the return fire key. And we can actually use that with our artillery as well. And what this key does, it basically makes your units not fire unless fired upon. And wow, we're actually running out of time. So let's select all of our artillery here. We're going to fire position right there and immediately press Z. What this does, it makes your artillery basically line up ready to fire. And as soon as everything is ready, we're going to press Z once again, and it makes everything fire at the same time and unleash one big barrage of artillery at one point or at one moment. And this makes it a bit more difficult for the enemy to counter you, because well, at this stage you will be able to move out instead of having like scattered shots at your target. As I said in the introduction, we're also going to be talking about falling back, and I'm going to add step 2 and 3 to that, which basically means how to use a retreat and basically using it at your advantage and kicking the enemy's ass afterwards. So as you can see, 2 squads of Fallschirmjägers are basically wrecking our infantry, so I quickly fall back with it. And the idea I have here in my head, or the thought I have, is to bait in his troops towards the line I'm at right now, while my reinforcements are coming in from the secondary line and from the spawn point. So as soon as we encounter his troops again, and he engages us, I move back a little bit more towards the open field to really make him feel comfortable in that area. I could have probably defeated those units if I moved in that rifle squad on the right flank and just moved in my assault or ranger assaults in flamethrower range, but I decide to regroup my troops, move back my leader unit a little bit so that he doesn't get killed, and then do a big push. But the enemy, my opponent in this skirmish, is definitely not stupid. He knows something is up and he falls back, and as soon as I notice that, I move in all of my troops to try to catch him out in the open. And as you know, infantry out in the open versus infantry hidden in a forest or in a fortified position, it's not going to end well for that infantry out in the open, as you can see. And you guys probably know that Fallschirmjägers are really good infantry if they are in a defensive position, and not so much in this particular situation. Now I know that it's not always going to end like this. You might have an opponent that is just going to bomb all of your infantry or use some other technique to counter you, but basically this is how you should recover from falling back. You should regroup, get your leader unit in there, get all of your units experience, try to bait the enemy out, make them feel really comfortable in the area, let them make mistakes as well. People make a lot of mistakes when they're doing an offensive like he did, and then basically recover and kick their ass. Now I mentioned the return fire option I think 3 times now in the past 2 videos, and it's definitely one of the most important options in this game when it comes to recon. As you can see, I just moved that recon up there and I can immediately spot 5 units, and if I had that return fire option disabled, they would have been spotted and their recon unit would have been killed. Don't let that happen. Put all of your recon on return fire until you're sure that you can actually take out that unit in 1 or 2 shots. And just let your other units do the killing. Recon is not meant for frontline battles. Just remember that. It's really important. Okay, this is going to be the last time I talk about the return fire option, but it's so important. Look at this AT gun. I basically lined it up. It's ready to fire at that tank in the north. And as soon as I click it off, it hits. Now it's not going to hit every single time, obviously, but giving your AT guns enough time to line up his shot and basically get as much preparation as possible definitely helps out with the accuracy. Okay, let's forget about the return fire option for now and talk about how to follow up with artillery. I see a lot of people use off-map artillery and don't have a plan B afterwards. They just let the artillery rain and just give the enemy enough time to recuperate. What artillery is most useful for in this game is to stun enemies. It's not going to kill absolutely everything it hits. It's going to demoralize the crap out of them, and that is when you should push. So I am basically stunning everything, I'm racing my infantry forward, and I just make everything surrender, and I just kill off that leader unit really easily as well, since he's being stunned and cannot really defend himself, and just by building hopping I make like 4 or 5 squads surrender and kill off the rest. It's super easy. Just with a handful of infantry you can annihilate an entire town, and that friendly bomber guy definitely ruined the moment there, but yeah, I think you guys got the point. So follow up with artillery. Don't just let the artillery fire and then don't do anything. That's not how you should play with artillery at all. Now you guys probably encountered a more superior enemy in terms of equipment. In this case I'm fighting against the SS Panzer division, so I have only one choice over here. I need to stun his heavy units and then move in my relative weaker units and try to engage him. So I just basically unload everything I got on those tanks to stun them, make them fall back. Then I move out my tanks and move out my AT guns to quickly kill whatever I can kill, basically, before those guys are unstunned and are ready to fight once again. In this particular situation I have 2 tanks. One is a leader unit, the other one is a regular tank. So I have 2 star tanks and they will hit most of their shots. So I quickly take out one of his 3 tanks here while the other 2 are still falling back. There you go. There goes one. And that's already a big win because his tanks are vastly superior to my tanks. And just taking out one is going to demoralize the player. That's one, and it's going to make him do stupid things to try to take out my tank. So also do that psychological warfare by basically taking out his ace and then let the rest basically follow up. Because people do stupid things when they lose their expensive units. And as I said before, follow up with your artillery. So as soon as I fire those units, I am moving in infantry towards the left side to make use of the chaos I created with that rocket strike. Another thing I want to talk about is the amount of lines you should have on a battlefield. And with this I kind of mean fallback lines and defensive lines. And yeah, let's quickly use the enemy as our example here. He kind of gives a really extreme example, or he is an extreme example because I don't really see this happen that often, but he has most of his combat forces in the front. Like this is 95% of all of his combat forces in the front line engaging us. And yeah, that is definitely not the way you should compose yourself on the battlefield. If there's some bombs landing there and one maybe land here, that's pretty much most of his units either stunned or dead, and it will be really easy to rush out of this town. Now if you look over on my side here, you can see that I have composed a few units here on the main front line. I have some tanks, some infantry. There's a secondary line that I use to fall back to in case this one breaks. I have some support vehicles over here, the M7DD, some mortars, some ranger assaults, and some leaders in case I do fall back. This guy will be able to unstun my units a little bit quicker. And I even have a third and last ditch defensive line over here. Another leader and 2 more infantry here. So yeah, there's no chance he is going to break this line, my fallback line, and my last defensive line in one go. It'll really take him a lot to push through this. If we compare that to his situation, it's going to be easy to push through this. Everything is clumped up, like an off map here, an off map there, and that's it. Boom, everything is stunned or dead. And then, you know, bomb these tanks and roll up mine to quickly kill them. But yeah, I think I'm actually going to end it here. Nice and short, some good tips and tricks in my opinion. Hopefully you guys found something that you can use out of this video. Probably the most valuable one is the hold fire option in combination with artillery. But yeah, let me know what you think down below is the most valuable tip in this video to help others out and help each other out. And yeah, I might do more, just depends on what I learn myself and what I think is useful to show off to you guys. But yeah, thanks for watching, share with a friend that you play with, and I will see you guys back in the next one.